All right. Welcome to another special edition of the Kettlebell Guys. This is the client interview series, and it is my honor to introduce Bob Butterworth to the show. Bob, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Thanks, Grant. I'm good. Happy to be here. Honored.
Uh, Give the audience the quick rundown. Where are you from? Uh, where do you live? What do you do for work? What did you do for work? A little bit about
Yeah.
you.
My name's Bob Butterworth. I live in Seattle, Washington. I'm married. I have two kids, 18-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl, which is an interesting stage. I had a web development and digital marketing agency in Seattle for about 20 years, and then I had a legal tech company. I sold that at the end of 2020. Spent a little bit of time trying to find my soul and repair my nervous system, and
Oh
and then I've
man.
gotten into a little bit of a passion project that I've been working on here for a while, and hope to launch that soon. Not quite ready to discuss that, but it's
Well,
fun.
yeah, I mean, if you're watching, you can maybe see a
Yeah,
quick hint on,
yeah, exactly.
on your logo. Well, Bob, I'll tell you this, man. Your KT story, and at least what you've told me, through us having different conversations over the last year and a half, it's one of my favorite stories because one of the things you always say to me is that you say KT found me somehow.
Mm,
And so can you let's what I'd love to do is I'd love to be able to go back in time to well before you found KT or
hmm.
KT found you. And can you kind of just take us back to where you found yourself? What was your health and fitness like? What were your goals back then? And you
Yeah,
mentioned you just sold the company and you were kind of getting past that, repairing your nervous system.
yeah. Um, well, when I think about that time, it's really an interesting psychological review, I think, because what I was telling myself versus reality are just two different things, you know. So if you would have asked me, like, talk to me about your health and fitness at the time, I would have said, I'm good, I look good compared to most people, or so I'd say, or I can move well, like I'm above average, or that's certainly what I tell myself. I could run, I could hike, I'd go to the gym, I'd be fit, I'd eat well, but it was all kind of bullshit, because I was just kind of going through the motions. There was um, nothing sustainable about it. It was very herky jerky. I just wasn't in that groove, and I knew it, um, deep down.
Mm,
But I was just like, I'm doing pretty well. Like that's what I told myself.
mm.
Um, so yeah.
So were you defining that as it was you said it was bullshit. Was that like, so you just described like, it was herky jerky. It wasn't consistent. You felt like, I was doing well enough. But
Hmm.
how did you know? How did you know it wasn't good enough?
Well, um, you could look in the mirror, and then there's that story. I guess everyone has their bottom, and some people's bottoms are pretty dark and rough, and some are kind of silly and ridiculous. I think mine fell into that category, and I
Yeah.
was I knew that I felt like my weight was creeping a little. I felt like, oh, I'm probably five over where I want to be, sort of thing. And when I get everything kind of back in the groove, everything will be fine, Um,
Yeah.
and I just wasn't doing that. I wasn't finding that groove. And I was on a fly fishing trip in Alaska, and you had to, in advance of the trip, you had to give your weight because you're going to be on a helicopter at one point. And I, estimated what I thought about my weight was. And then when I got there, right when we're about to get on, you have to step on a scale. And I felt this like bolt of anxiety, like, oh shit, like I hope I was
Got it.
close. So I get on and I see the number and I could not believe it. It
Mm,
was like 20 pounds over what I thought. And I was just like, whoa, that is a number that is shocking.
got
For
it.
me, and maybe again, deep down, like I knew I could be around that, but I just wasn't, I don't know. That was my like, look yourself in the mirror moment. Um, and,
Yeah.
and I'd found you or the Matrix had brought us together at some point, maybe 4 or 5 weeks before then. And I really liked, I think I followed a couple folks on Instagram to kind of look at their workouts and follow them or sort of follow them. You can imagine the form. Um, and I found you, and I assume through remarketing on Instagram or something. And there's something about your authenticity that really struck me. And then I reached out. It was one of those things where you're some kind of call to action, and I did whatever, and then you immediately got back to me, and to where I questioned whether you were a bot or not. And and I really appreciated kind of your hustle, like just as an entrepreneur. And then I just sort of sat on it. I think because of it was summer circumstance, but I knew I was going to do it. But then that moment, it was as soon as I got back from Alaska, it was like, let's go. And
Yeah.
I was ready. It wasn't. I did ask to talk to you in the sign up process because I just wanted to confirm that authenticity, like, which again, just I don't know, it meant something to me. Um,
Yeah.
but other than that, it was like let's go. You know. Um,
What was that time frame between you found us, we had connected initially, and then you said some time went by. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this, but some time went by, and then you did the Alaska trip, and then came back, and you mentioned something.
Probably maybe a month and a half. Um,
Okay, all right.
yeah, I mean, I knew I was going to do it, but that just lit the fire. It was like, okay, no more dicking around. Like, let's do this.
Yeah. What about what you saw on social media made you feel like you knew you wanted to do this?
Well, I there's something about kettlebells that I've always liked. I don't there's um an elegance, a simplicity, a something kind of like Soviet brutalist like. I just like the form, the function, the simple aspects of it all. So I was attracted to kettlebells in general, or my understanding of kettlebells at the time anyway, which is obviously much different than now.
Yeah.
Um, and there's something about your approach. I think about this all the time because I don't know, in this world where you're being bombarded by ads and influencers and lots of noise, you stood out. And I really can't say what it was because I didn't even think of you then the way I do now, of course, because I know you. And you're, a really, really, like I said, like I thought, authentic guy and sweet guy and sincere guy. And,
Mm.
but at the time I wasn't sure. I just thought he's telling the truth about kettlebells, and maybe he's a douche, but I don't know. I don't really care because I'm not getting into this to make friends or anything. I just want to like lose a couple pounds. And
Yeah.
he's talking to me about getting stronger and all that. And like, I don't whatever. I don't care. Like, just help me lose 20 pounds.
Yeah,
And
that's a good thing to talk about.
I just
100%.
didn't I just didn't really understand it at the time. You know.
Yeah. That's a good thing to talk about because that is a hilarious story that you always tell, which is, in one of the first conversation that we had, I was talking about the bells that you're going to be able to use, for
Hmm.
get ups and you're like, dude, I don't care about any of that stuff. I just
I didn't, not only did I not care, but I didn't even really know like
right,
what does 32 mean or what is 36 or 40 or 48? Like I didn't really
right,
conceive of, I just assumed it was probably heavy and maybe I'd get there, but I don't really
right.
care.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that stuff now?
I mean, functional strength has changed my entire life, you know? Um, and I think about it. I mean, I live it, you know?
Mm.
I try really hard to not get too caught up in the numbers. Can I hit if I hit the mic button here so I can cough, will that,
Yeah,
uh,
you can, I
you're either
think
going to hear me
mute
cough or
for,
you're not. 1 second.
you can mute for a second. Yeah, you're good. Taking a
All
break
right,
while
cool.
Bob's off. He's back.
Uh,
Perfect.
um, Yeah, so I try to not get too caught up in the numbers,
Yeah,
but yeah, I still do a little bit after listening to like Alex last week, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing 56 on the minute for 10 minutes. I'm like, oh God, like, all right, I need to step up my game. Um,
yeah,
but mostly I'm just progressing and just, following the plan and my heavy is my heavy, my very heavy is my very heavy, and it's slowly creeping up. Um,
yeah,
but but strength, I have a totally different understanding of it than I did previously,
yeah,
because I just didn't grasp how it can impact so many aspects of your life, you know.
yeah. And you're a
Um,
pretty active guy.
yeah.
So, yeah, like you're
hmm
going all over the place, fly fishing trips,
hmm
hiking trips.
Yeah.
Uh, I know when we came out to Seattle, we went out there for a quick client retreat. We went for
Yeah.
a hike, and you just dominated the hikes.
Huh. I don't know
The,
about that, but like, um, the cardio aspects of KT have definitely helped the cause for sure. Not to mention the, step ups and bouldering and all of that. It's been good. And it actually really helps to enjoy the moment more, because
yeah.
the suffering is, I don't know, not as bad as it used to be. So you can really kind of, lock in and enjoy it.
Okay, so let's go back through this timeline. So you were in a spot where you didn't feel great about in terms of like your consistency or what you were doing from a health and fitness perspective. You felt like your weight was creeping up. You had an inkling that kettlebells could be a solution for you. You go on this trip. You have the moment that I think every guy has,
hmm
which is it becomes real for you that you got to do something different.
Yeah.
And for you, it was stepping on scale and getting your weight, right? So let's go to the enrollment process, getting started in KT. You obviously made the decision, you pulled the trigger, you go through this onboarding process, you're starting to learn how to train with kettlebells. Do you remember what that was like when you first got started inside of KT?
Yeah. So when I first got started, I was trying to think of like, was I apprehensive at all or anything like that? And not really, because again, I didn't think of it really the way that you guys are talking about it. Like it was sort of like, yeah, all that sounds good, but I'm going to lose 20 pounds. I'm going to follow the thing. I'm going to learn how to do this stuff right. And that's that.
Yeah,
So I was maybe mildly concerned about a culture within it all that was lame, maybe like, I don't know, the coaches are like not my people or whatever. And
sure.
but really I didn't even care about that. So but getting started, it was, I did that thing with you, and then I was connected to Coach Pete, and then we were off. So it was learning form, learning that every single swing I'd ever done in my life was incorrect, um, which is pretty funny. uh, and then learning how to do, honestly, the greatest exercise in the history of the world, and that would be the Turkish getup.
Oh
And
yeah,
once you get that muscle memory down, it's just awesome. And I remember very early on, probably second or third workout after I could kind of go through the motions without thinking, the next day I felt like I was kind of punched all over, like
Mm,
everywhere, and that sort of good pain, but
yeah,
everywhere, like my core, my shoulders, my legs, my butt, and like, oh wow, that's just from one one thing. Like that's amazing. And that was the beginning of my love-hate relationship with the Turkish getup.
yeah.
I say hate because sometimes you just don't feel it.
Of course, of
Mhm.
course. I mean, that's kind of the entire process, I think, in general, right? It can be
Yeah.
a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, so so you joined, you wanted to lose weight. You're like, I don't even care about getting stronger. Grant, just help me drop 20 pounds.
hmm
How has that evolved for you? Like when you started to learn the movements, you started to like dial in doing swings, doing get ups, training consistently. How
Yeah.
has that, how's your mindset evolved around that?
Well, early on, you it doesn't like click from day one, but you just do it, and then you do it again. Week passes, 2 weeks pass, 3 weeks pass. And probably around maybe the third or fourth week, you kind of feel a little different. You sort of start to look a little different. And there's also, the nutritional aspects of the plan early on, and you're eating a ton of food. Um, and which is counterintuitive and I think all the guys who just start, they're kind of going like, should I be eating this much? And it's the opposite of a diet. I mean, it's clean eating, and you're eating whole foods, but that's not hard, unless you don't like meat. It might be a little harder then, but um, and so eating a ton, getting the movements down, and then around week 4, like, I've lost weight. I can see it,
Hmm.
I can feel it. Um, Fast forward another 2, 3 weeks, and I think I'd achieved my goal already. Um,
Yeah, you lost the 20 pounds in like 7, 8 weeks.
yeah, yeah, if not faster.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay. Um, and that was around the time too where like I'd reached my goal. It was honestly easy. And then I started to get it more. And it was around the time as well that the novelty of it kind of started to wear off. Like in the beginning, everyone's like, yeah, yeah, and like go, go, rah, rah. And that's awesome. But at some point you kind of lose that, and which is natural. And that's
Yeah.
kind of when KT actually kicked in for me. That's when I kind of realized what this is and why it's important. And I kind of opened my mind up to the community as well, and realized, wow, these guys are helping me, and I can help them.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe I was, just jaded and cynical or whatever, but I, I wasn't open to that. I didn't think it was important until I got it. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So I want to dig more into that stuff because I think you're the perfect guy to talk about the stuff that's almost hard to articulate.
I
Um,
don't know if I can do it, but I'll try.
yeah. Well, there's so much about KT that I feel like when a guy goes through it and he's 6 months in, 12 months in, there's these benefits that are hard to articulate. They're hard to talk about. They're hard to explain unless, dude, you just got to go through it.
Yeah.
But before we go there, let's talk about the specific results that you've gotten in your life, that you've gotten in this program. Where did you start? Where are you now? Let's go into those.
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk numbers, I think if I'm being honest, I was probably I'm 6'3". I was probably 225, naturally kind of lean frame, but I would say at 225, sort of skinny fat, probably drinking too much beer at the time as well. I dropped down to 195 pretty quickly. I actually weighed myself yesterday. I'm around 192, but I've put on a lot of muscle. So if I didn't do that, I'd probably be a lot less.
Okay.
Um,
That's badass.
can kind of, in side by sides, it's kind of, you've seen some of them. It's pretty, even for me, it's like I actually sent the
Yep.
side by sides to my 80-year-old father. That's how kind of proud I was. um, which is pretty funny. You never stop wanting to impress your
Yeah.
pop. Um, so so yeah, there's that. I can see my abs most days, like probably for the first time since I don't even know, like decades.
Amazing.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean that's, well, in terms of bells, God,
Yeah.
I
Let's go
think
there.
I was. This sounds so ridiculous. I think I was, when I was working out with kettlebells prior to KT. I believe I was swinging at 14,
14
which,
kg.
yeah, which I I know when I got it, I thought it was heavy, which again, it's just wild, right?
Yeah.
Um,
30-pound bell.
yeah, and being very conscious of how I swung, so I didn't throw my back out with that
Mm.
14.
Yep.
Um, Now I swing a 48. I don't know if I could swing a 56. I probably could. I don't have one. I need to get one soon. Um, So swing of 48 pretty comfortably. Um, in terms of get up, I mean, when I learned, I think I learned with my shoe
Yeah.
in my hand, and that was just to get the movement sound. But then we have some baby bell that I think my daughter uses that um, I was using for a bit. I don't even know what it would be, maybe 10 pounds or something.
Maybe 10, 15. Yeah.
Yeah. And right now I'm at 40 kg. Um,
Oh, gosh.
but like I said, I don't know if it was Alex or what, but I was looking at that 44 yesterday going, all right, I don't know. Should I try it? I'm like, just be patient, be patient.
So, so just so people, if they're not following along with the kg talk, you started at a 14 kg for swings, which is 30 pounds.
Yeah.
You now swing a 48 kg, which is 106 pounds,
Hmm.
like routinely.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Right.
And you started body weight with a shoe to learn the get up, and now you're using an 40 kg, which is an 88-pound bell.
Right. Yeah,
That's
it's hard to believe. And sometimes if I have friends around who don't do KG, I admit to, flexing just a little bit, like, hey, check out this bell, like lift that bell for me. And then, they can barely lift it off the ground. And, to think what you can do, it's pretty damn cool. I always think of you
yeah.
guys like, oh, if I was Grant, I would walk into Gold's Gym in Venice Beach with a 56, just lay down, do three of those, and then walk out and watch those guys stare. Like it'd be pretty cool.
So, okay, that would be pretty cool. Maybe I'll do that next time I'm in LA. Uh, okay, so let's can you compare and contrast for me when you said my fitness was herky jerky before?
Hmm.
How has this been different for you? How has KT been different from the things that you tried in the past?
Well, I just found the groove. I found that sustainable groove, and what to me what that means is it's not a thing. You just do it. It's not. Am I going to work out tomorrow, or it's really just about like when am I getting that in, and just like when am I going to go to sleep? When am I going to brush my teeth? When am I going to shower? It's just it's just not a thing. It's just part of the routine. Um,
Yeah.
so, and I think honestly, one of my sort of most proud moments in KT was around 50 workouts in, because that's when I knew I'd found the groove. So like I just had 200, and that's pretty cool. 100's great. Hitting different milestones with bells was great. But I think I was most proud at 50 because I knew, that I'd found it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's a huge milestone because
Yeah,
that's
you don't like, you know, luck your way into 50. Like
right,
that's a habit, I think.
right,
Um,
right.
so yeah.
So talk to me about what you feel like were the unexpected benefits of KT.
God, there are a lot. Well, we were talking recently, actually, you and I, about how, this idea that mental fitness is downstream from physical fitness. I really believe that, and I don't think I understood that prior to KT, but I've found a calm that I've been looking for a long time, and it could have been from being an entrepreneur or having young kids or whatever, but I carried stress. I carried a lot of stress, it probably has taken years off my life, to be
Hmm.
honest. But the calm I've found, from being physically fit, the mental calm has been huge for me, for my family, friends, and people. I think people feed off of my energy, and when I'm present and calm, I'm the best version of myself,
Yeah.
and I can be the best father, best friend, whatever it might be. Um, so that was very unexpected. That wasn't even something I thought about. Just like the benefits of functional strength wasn't on my radar. Didn't care. Didn't understand it. didn't understand the functional strength, didn't understand the impact on my mental fitness. And then another thing, of course, is just the community. And when we did that kind of, makeshift podcast, that time we talked about that. Um, the community has been so huge and so unexpected. Um, I I like really like this. There's like a great group dynamic that's kind of hard to imagine, especially in these times. Really refreshing, and really great. And there's dudes in that community I've never met who are really helpful. I'm like, yeah, I like that guy. I have no idea. I've never met them. I've never even talked to them, but I like them. And there's no one I don't like. But yeah, and then there's kind of an inner group of guys that I've come real close with, you know. And I'd actually like to mention them if it's okay.
Of course.
Like Martin Safri and Raj Kapoor and Scott DeMello and Des Cora and Coach Rich and Coach Pete and of course you guys. Just huge. Like you have no idea like how these guys kind of help me. Or I can't explain it. Like it's such an amazing benefit. Because I definitely didn't come into this caring about that and definitely didn't think I was going to make friends, let alone
Yeah.
good friends. Dudes we're talking to all the time, like all day, all hours, about kettlebells, about life. Um, and there are also guys too I don't really know, but also help in weird ways, like just so positive. Guys like Terry, and Wim, um, Miguel, Vip, of course,
Yeah.
um, John Kiefer, John Cannon. I mean, I could go on, but like, so it's just, yeah, just such a weird thing to have found that. So those are three big things, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Mental fitness, functional strength, and
Yeah.
a group of guys, a brotherhood. You know,
Yeah. The one thing I think I'm going to go back to what you said there at the beginning when you were talking about that like peace, that calm,
hmm
uh, because I feel like a lot of guys who do you think before KT, you know, back when you were maybe looking for a solution, do you feel like that was a conscious problem or a subconscious problem? And I ask that because I feel like there's a lot of guys out there who might be in that situation, but I don't know if it's conscious to them, if they feel like, boy, my life would be so much better if I was in a place of like peace and calm and I felt like I was in the groove from a health and fitness perspective.
it's a good question. I don't know if I looked at it that way. I just knew like how I'll look better. You know,
Right.
and I'll probably feel better, but I didn't kind of understand, or I couldn't really see how deep it would go. And it's one of the things that it's very exciting to me when I'm looking at guys in the community, especially newer guys who are, kind of maybe at the peak of that time in life where you've got young kids, you're working on your career, life is just kind of getting real, punching you in the mouth for the first time. And they're in
Sure.
KT, and it's like, wow, that's so good for them. Like it's so huge. And I kind of regret not having found KT a little earlier. Of course, you guys would have been like 10 years old, or you would have been five. but but like I'm really happy for the guys who are kind of at that peak craziness, maybe mid 30s or whatever, with um, career getting crazy and young babies, and to have KT to kind of keep their physical health right, and obviously the impact on again on mental fitness, it's just huge. So I love that.
Yeah. I like I like talking to you about we talk a lot about the guys who might find themselves on the outside, like the outside looking in.
hmm
And what drives a guy to make a decision to go find his groove or to go truly make some big changes? You say, we talked about how mental strength is downstream from physical strength of really take
hmm
control of your health. And you kind of articulate just everything in your life is better now that you feel like um, you have this stuff under control. So I kind of have a two-part question here. I want to start with number one. How do you feel like it impacts everyone else around you? Like, how do you feel like it impacts your wife, your kids? Have you noticed a difference in the last year, year and a half?
Definitely, like I said, they feed off of my calm, so for better or worse, I'm one of those people I think that, um, not consciously, but sort of dictates the room a little bit, my mood.
Sure.
And as you know, like with an entrepreneur and that stress, there are definitely times where my craziness in the moment would have negatively impacted people, just projecting out whatever scenario I was in the moment, whatever fires needed to be put out, whatever, it's hard. It's very difficult to be present. And again, that's why I love the younger guys who are getting the benefits of this. But in addition to the calm, I mean, I think that I'm modeling fitness in a really good way for my kids, and I had a very athletic mother, and a golf crazy father, but there wasn't a lot of emphasis on health, I don't think. They'd probably they'd probably take offense to that, but I didn't see my father doing what I'm doing. And I
Hmm.
love the idea of and my son's 18, he's very much an 18-year-old, and he's all about lifting and getting big and all of that. And he's made some wisecracks about kettlebells, but I know deep down that he's seeing it, and I know he knows it's badass.
Of
And
course.
yeah, so I love
His
that.
dad, his dad's throwing around 106-pound kettlebells. There's no way you can't think that's badass.
Yeah, I mean, he said one time, he's like, because I said, why don't I take you through a workout? And he said, I don't want to do your little Pilates thing. And I was like, and I wish I'd thought of it when you were around, because I would have been great for you to take him through a workout and just break his ass. But anyway, he
Man.
knows, he knows.
So it's impacting. I definitely know, at least from the entrepreneur standpoint. I think anybody who's in a stressful career or in a position where you're leading, a business, that stress can get carried over into your home life for sure.
Yeah.
And you said like into a room, like 100%.
Hmm.
Uh, Everyone around me in my life definitely knows if things are stressful for me or not. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like the only thing you think about.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's
but
it's not intuitive too. When you're thinking, you think you can outthink your way through
right,
through an issue, and it's really not. It's not. The solution isn't intuitive. Working out
yeah,
with kettlebells, jumping in a cold plunge, meditating, whatever, practicing gratitude. These things, like, how do they have anything to do with the stress I'm carrying? I'm not sure,
right,
but it works. You know.
right, yeah, right. Because it can be compounded for someone who's like, if you're an entrepreneur, you own your own business, and there's
Hmm.
stressful times in business, but there's also the fact that you feel unhealthy, or you're carrying around extra weight, or you just don't have the energy to do the things you want to do. All that's extra stress. That just
Yeah.
compounds whatever stress you're dealing with at work.
Right.
And like you said, when you found something that you could be in a groove with, well, then that's taken care of. Like that stress is gone. Because you're still going to have regular stress, work
Of
stress,
course.
home stress.
Yeah.
Um, but
Just
being able
makes
to
it
be
it
at a
makes it
place,
more manageable. I mean, when you get
right,
into the routine with these things and heavy bells, it makes everything easier.
right,
It just does. Especially,
yeah,
and it's
expand.
like there's nothing. I know you're a late day workout guy, but like I love getting it done early, and then it's like I've done the hard stuff, and I have this whole day ahead of me, and it's just a joy, because um,
Right.
yeah. Anyway, it's
So,
a point too I want to make, that I lost my train of thought earlier, is getting it done. That sustainability track it's pretty wild too, when you have other things going on in your life, travel, whatever. Working out can be inconvenient, but it's so easy to still get it done. Um, And if that means you have to go 4 in a row, you do 4 in a row. Um, and if that means going into the weekend, you do that. And occasionally, maybe you don't hit the four, like, but you know that it's not because you didn't want to do it. It's because life just somehow got in the way. But it's very easy to get it done, and it's so important for me. It's so meaningless in the grand scheme of things because if you miss a workout or something, it's not that big of a deal. But
Yeah.
I can't do it. Like I have to, because I know everyone else out there is getting their four. Um,
Right.
so
Right. Yeah, you feel that macro sense of accountability. Like,
yeah, I feel like I'm being watched actually. And you're not. Like no one notices really. I mean, maybe if you
yeah,
disappear, but if you don't hit four checks, probably no one on. Maybe you guys will,
for sure.
but I feel like the whole community is watching. Um, so yeah.
So I feel like you're the I like asking you these questions. Why where do you think what do you think about like guys who are out there looking for a solution? Um, what do you think needs to be, what should they be thinking about when they're looking for a solution? What should they be focused on? One of the things you and I were texting about the other day was the idea that, man, you wish that you could just get guys to you just got to do it so that you can experience for yourself whether it works or not. Because I feel
Hmm.
like one of the things when guys are out there searching for some sort of solution from a health and fitness perspective, there's so many options. There's so many different things that it's so easy to be, get this analysis paralysis and then not do
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
And so from your point of view, what do you think guys should be looking for?
Um, I think that well, it's weird because with if they're looking at KT, whatever they're looking for, like say they're looking for I want to lose weight, or I'm just looking for accountability, or great programming, or good coaching, or whatever it might be. Those are easy. You're going to find that. Like that's 100% going to happen. Um, so that's very easy. I don't mean to go back to you, but like what do most guys say they're looking for? Lose weight?
Yeah, I think most guys come when they're looking for a solution, they're like where you were when you started, which was like, dude, I don't care about any of that stuff. I want to drop 20 pounds. But I
Yeah.
think when guys go through this KT experience, especially guys who have been in the program as long as you, where you've been in it for over a year, some guys have been in it for 2 years, three
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
um, there becomes this kind of this evolved perspective of what it means to find something where you have that calm and you have
Yeah.
that peace. And I feel like you know, you're pretty good at dissecting the human psyche. So I was just wondering if you had a thought process.
I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting. Like when I think about the number of guys you talk to, and I have a tiny bit of insight into like the number of guys you talk to, the number of guys who have the means to do this, guys who want to do this but who don't do it. It's interesting, and I think that there must be some sort of fear of failure that a lot of guys have, or I'm going to drop some money on this and I'm going to fail, or I've done all these other things and I've stopped doing them. Um, like I've been there. Like I've had gym memberships that I don't use, or you know, I don't feel like working out. I'm not going to work out. That one day turns into 5 weeks. There must be a fear of failure associated with this, or there's a association. Maybe when you talk about functional strength, maybe that's scary to some guys. They associate it with pain and suffering or something like that, and it's very incremental. You don't go in on day one trying to put up 40 kgs. You don't,
Right.
it's you get there very organically. Um,
Right.
you don't stop eating. You don't go on to some kind of crash diet or do anything odd. It's very normal. It's very organic. Um, so I'm kind of getting off track a little bit, but I think
Oh, this is great.
I feel like guys need to think less. I mean, I was ready, so I can't really. I'd hit my moment where I was ready. I know other guys. Some guys are apprehensive. Some guys like Martin are just like don't even talk. Let's start tomorrow. Um, but if if you if you went into this and you're just like, I'm not going to think, I'm just going to follow, you'll find that you're just kind of pulled through this process. You're pulled through this funnel. And when I look back on it, I don't remember any effort even, you know, because I would just do what I was supposed to do. And
Mm.
it's not that much time. It's depending on how quickly you're moving, it's 45 minutes, 4 times a week. Um, and then walking, which for me, walking has always been, a calming influence anyway, and a way to kind of kill two birds with one stone, oftentimes calls and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of folks they get in their heads, they have fear of failure, they have fear of hard work. And, I would just encourage those guys to step out of their heads and effortlessly follow the program, and then it becomes kind of a joy, I don't know what my workout tomorrow looks like exactly. I have an idea. I'm sure when I look at it, I might curse it sometimes. Um, but I love that I don't have to know. I don't have to think about, oh God, what am I going to do tomorrow? I don't have to
Yeah.
walk around the gym and I guess I did curls last time I was here. Maybe I should work on my triceps this time, or you know, uh, do the pec deck or whatever it might be. Like, oh,
Sure.
it should be legs. I haven't done legs in a while. Maybe I should do legs today.
Mm.
It's and that anxiety too of walking around like I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, and I need to look like I do know what I'm doing, because people will think I'm, a fool. It's just all of that is gone, and there's none of that anxiety.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I, I
huge.
would I would like guys to understand how I say the word easy, and nothing's easy in life, nothing. Um, but you can follow this in a way that it becomes very routine, um, and and the sense of accomplishment you get when you get through a day when you don't want to do it, which is, you know, it can be it can be all the time. It can be, like weeks or months where you're feeling great, but you feel amazing when you bust through. Um, and and that's addictive.
Love that. That's so good. That was amazing. That was thank you for saying that. That was perfect.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, I love that anyone in the program who's listening to this, I love that they all know what I'm talking about. You know, like it's pretty cool because I guarantee you, if you've been in this for longer than I don't even know 6 weeks, maybe you're like, yeah, I get it. There's nobody who's going, what the fuck is he talking about? No one. They get it.
Right. Yeah. You get it. You get it once you get it. It's like this moment of synergy
Hmm.
where it becomes very real for you.
Yeah.
For at least on our perspective, a guy goes through it once he understands the movements, he starts to train the movements consistently, he
Hmm.
starts to see results. He gets that positive reinforcement and feedback from the community. It just kind of
And those
happens.
results, man, you don't want to lose those. You know, you're gonna
Man,
work. You're gonna work even harder to make sure that you don't go backward because
right.
it takes work. Um,
For sure.
and there's a lot of pride associated with that. When you see the results of your work, there's no way you're going back. No way.
Yeah. I'll never forget one of my favorite messages I've ever gotten was from you when you were, I think, still in your first 16 weeks. And you sent me a message on school, just really outlining what you just outlined, which was like, I didn't know I was missing everything that I've gotten in this program. Like you said, I came here to lose 20 pounds. I've already done that, but like this is so much more than I ever would have realized.
Yeah.
And that is what Sean and I intended for this to be when we started it, which was obviously it's results focused to help guys. Some guys get results they've never been able to get on their own, but also just to become this realization, this journey that just becomes part of your identity.
Hmm.
And it just becomes this non-negotiable, you don't even know how you got there, but this non-negotiable part of your life. That's what we intended for it.
Yeah.
And when you sent me that message, it was just like one of those like, yes, like another guy got it.
I love that being part of your identity thing as well, too. Like I love that kettlebells are part of who I am. Like it's cool. Like it's like I'm a kettlebell guy. Like that is something that I wear with pride, you know.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I think when you were in Seattle, actually, you were wearing probably a KT shirt or some kettlebell shirt, and we walked around Green Lake, and a couple dudes were like kettlebells, you know, like, and it's like kettlebell guys, you know, like they understand. But
Yeah.
I will say though too that I don't think I'd say 90, I don't know, you probably have the right number, but 95% of guys who work out with kettlebells probably aren't doing it right. But that's okay. It's still cool.
Right.
But I love though being a proper kettlebell guy. It's um,
Sure.
it's it means something to me.
Yeah. Or maybe aren't throwing around 106-pound bells and 88-pound get-ups. You know, it's different. It's definitely a different feeling, a different understanding of training.
Yeah, I
And
love too when that whatever cycle you're in at the moment when it starts getting heavy. Once you're in that groove, it feels really good. Like, and I'm kind of in that in MS2 right now, and it's like, yeah, like I like the heavy days. I like the very heavy days. Um, maybe not in the moment, but you feel it. You know, you feel the gain. Um,
yeah, love that. All right, I have some rapid fire questions for you.
okay,
You ready?
I think so.
And if you listen to Alex's interview, they're going to sound familiar. But number one is if you could only do one kettlebell exercise for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Get up without question.
Mm, okay. Number two, what's your favorite kettlebell weight?
Probably 36, just because I could take that bell with me, like one bell, and get kind of everything I need and still have like intensity.
Okay.
So also just something about the 36 I have, certain bells just feel special. Probably every guy can relate to that, but they've got, kind of favorites based on look or feel. And I love my 36.
Yeah, I love that. Number three, what's the achievement that you are most proud of since joining KT?
I'm probably what I said earlier, just that getting in that groove, finding that groove, and I knew it at maybe 50 workouts in, or 50 or 100, or probably 50. That it was like, okay, I'm doing this. This is now what I do. I was definitely proud of finding what I wanted to find, and then from there realizing just how much more there was to find, and still every program you're just learning, you're gaining, you're finding stuff new all the time. And when you talk to these guys who are weeks or months or years ahead of you, you have some sense as to what's to come, and it's like, oh, I can't wait until I get to that, or maybe I'm a little intimidated by that or whatever, but it's coming.
Yeah,
So yeah, but yeah, I think just the groove, finding that groove, is what I'm most proud of. And
man.
if I get to a 48 get up, um, that will be what I'm most proud of, and that is what you know, that is a sort of arbitrary goal that I have. Although
Yeah,
Sean thinks there should be a senior award for guys who just hit 40, like, which I don't know. He thinks he's funny. I'll just
no,
I won't say
you'll
more.
definitely, yeah, you'll definitely hit a 48.
Hmm.
That's good. That's good. That you just talked about kind of segues me into the last two questions I had for you, Bob.
Yeah.
Uh, Number one is if what would you say to all the guys inside of KT who just started? You know, they're in onboarding, or they're in their
Mhm.
first week, or they just signed up yesterday. What would your message to those guys be?
Oh, I'm so psyched for you. Like I'm so happy that you've I don't know you, but I'm so happy that you've done this for your life, Um, and then just strap in. Don't think, just do. But like, wow, you've made such an amazing decision for yourself. Your life is going to improve in ways that you can't conceive of right now, and you're going to live longer because you've committed to your health span. So Um, yeah, I'm legit psyched for them.
Now, this might be a similar answer, but if someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I'm considering doing kettlebell transformation. It's a big investment. I'm not really sure if I want to pull the trigger." What would you say to them?
Um, I guess I'd ask them like, what are the alternatives? What else are you looking at? And I don't know what you guys hear like, well, it's this or it's a personal trainer, and like it's such an apples and oranges thing. Like, personal trainer is not going to be with you 24/7. Personal trainer is not going to be um, someone that you're likely to become friends with. A personal trainer is going to go through the motions with you a couple times a week, and then they're gone. Um, yeah, and I'm sure it can work for some people, but this is not. It's a totally different thing. Or a gym membership. I mean,
Mm.
the entire model is based on people not going. The entire business model of gyms is is based on guys, doing what I was doing, like basically kind of thinking you're going to the gym and not doing anything, and missing most days, and it's sort of it's silly. Um, so I would I would ask guys, do you value your family? Do you value your friends? Do you want to be here for a long time? Just try it. 16 weeks. I guarantee you at 6 weeks, you will not be questioning your choice. I guarantee it. So, and like, what's the worst that can happen? You try it and it doesn't work for you. Well, then I guess you weren't ready. But like, alternatively, you can sit on the sidelines and think about what you're going to do tomorrow. Man up, take control of your life.
Mm. Man, Bob, there's so many guys who I want to hear that message, like that message right there.
Mm.
Um, it's one that like we said, can't know until you know. But Bob, I just want to say thank you to you. Number one, for taking the plunge when you did, finding KT and deciding to go all in and deciding to follow it. And number two, anyone who knows you inside of KT just knows how big of influence you have on the community as a whole, especially, the guys who are very close to you inside of KT. And that was because you opened yourself up to, being able to experience that inside of this program. And so
Hmm.
I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for that because that's pretty special. And I want to thank you also for being a great friend to me and to Sean and to us. Ever since you came into this program and we've gotten to know each other better, I'm very, very grateful for it.
Oh, thank you, man. Like, I hope that you hear all the times I thank you, because there's so many. Sometimes I send you guys mean things about the workouts that I'm looking at, but I I'm also just so grateful to have found you guys and to have found KT. And I'm not the guy who is screaming from the rooftops about things typically. Like, I can get obsessive about things that I like, and go deep, but this is very out of character for me to be, like this about something. Um, and which I hope comes through as authentic to anyone who's listening, because there's no BS in this. So I'm very grateful to have found you guys as friends, and as fitness mentors, and I love the whole thing. Love KT. Love kettlebells.
Oh yeah. Excited to see where the journey continues to go, man.
Yeah, me too.
Well, with that being said, we've been on for 55 minutes, so I don't want to keep you any longer. I could
Cool.
sit and talk to you all day. But thank you for joining me, man. Truly, this was awesome.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, hi everyone out there. I'll see I'll see you on the accountability thread.
That's right. See you guys in the next episode.
All right. Thanks.